Hi, I'm Shnu. If you couldn't already tell by the title of this video, I like trains.
And I also like anime. Okay, maybe more like art and drawing in general, but you get the idea. And being the silly goober I am, I took it upon myself to combine those two interests in the most unholy way possible.
I'm going to turn them into OCs. For those unfamiliar with what I'm doing, I'm following the Japanese concept of Gijinka, creating humanoid characters out of non-human or inanimate objects, using their defining traits as elements of the character's design. My main inspiration stemmed from the absolute wealth of Japanese artists who do this on Twitter, such as Kanae and Mr. MCY who do a similar thing, and YouTubers such as Hanacue, and the fact that only a very small number of Australians do the same thing, which means there aren't many Aussie Gijinkas out there, which made me take matters into my own hands and do things myself. I'll be going backwards across 3 generations of trains on the New South Wales Electric Network, which will be the Tangara, VSET, and Sputnik trains. Why backwards? Well, that's just the order I drew them in chronologically, months apart. So each drawing will get better than the last. So watch till the end if you want to see my art improve. To start the process, I like to drop everything and stare really hard at the object for around 10 minutes, and write or draw down what I can see in it. I then drew my ideas down in my sketchbook to concrete my ideas into human form. Now that the sketch is finished on paper, I moved it onto my iPad, and it's here I can explain my design choices to you. I thought to give her, well, a futuristic theme, with a stainless steel spacesuit with red and orange pinstriping as accent colours, with curved antennae on the head to mimic the train's trademark, and always foggy upper deck windows. For her hair, I wanted to further the 1980s look, by giving her a fringe and haircut like the ones you see on idols of the time. I'll also give her taller, more rectangular eyes as per typical 1980s anime practice. Now that the draft is complete, I can create the final illustration, starting on my iPad. I don't actually have a time-lapse recording of me drawing Tangara as the digital illustration because I coloured her in Krita after moving the sketch and line art from my iPad. I know, it's a weird process, and being very new to Krita at the time, I didn't realise there was a record function, so I don't have any footage at all. And here's what I got. I wasn't too happy about the lack of detail on her outfit, so I decided to work the piece a little more, and you'll see the upgraded version at the end. Let's move on to our next transformation. My process for this character was quite similar to Tangara, where I did a pencil sketch and transferred it to my iPad for color drafting. And 1.5 hours later, and I was ready to go digital. And this time, I have footage.
Doors closing. Please stand clear.
Since the Visa travels huge distances every day to places surrounded by wilderness and national parks, I decided to give her a bushwalker theme with a shirt you'd find on bush rangers, hiking boots, and a backpack to store her stuff in. I also wanted to challenge myself with a more dynamic pose because most of my previous work has been really static and kinda boring. And I also wanted to give the impression of a VSET skipping through stations at high speed. And being the nerd I was, I wanted to give the shirt multiple color options like the many liveries on the VSET. I decided to use a new system which uses flat colors under a multiply layer instead of coloring the shirt outright for greater flexibility. And there we go, a VSET Gijinka with every livery from Sydney trains to Blue Goose to Candy. And now, it's time for our last and, in my opinion, the most well-executed character, the Sputnik. This is actually the oldest character out of the 3. The first drawing I can find was made nearly 2 years ago. I didn't need to make a sketch draft of Sputnik because, 1, I already had a pretty good idea of what I wanted her to look like in my head, and 2, she's been in development for 2 years now. Since it's the 1950s, I decided to give Sputnik an era-appropriate wide black skirt, a red dress, and silver hair in a short bob with a humongous fringe, a colour palette which aligns with her basis. For the more cyborg elements of the character, I gave her a satellite flying around the head in a halo, to reference its namesake, cables, and probably the most obvious component, the massive things on her head that resemble the roof ventilators you see on all Red sets. These elements will make for a more interesting and recognizable silhouette and character. This is my most recent work, being complete only a few days ago, and at that point in time, I wasn't happy with the lack of depth and form my characters had, so I decided to switch up my process and adopt the grayscale to color rendering technique, in an effort to make my characters look more three-dimensional and reduce the amount of layers I was working with. And it worked so much better than I thought it would. I could easily focus on rendering the 3D structure of the character without having to worry about hue shifting and other color nonsense. This work only ended up having 14 layers compared to the 80 plus I was working with before. Now that all 3 characters are complete, we can show them in the final reveal. And with that, we're basically done. I hope you enjoyed this video, because making these were pretty damn fun. New characters from outside New South Wales might be coming in a future video, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, happy farming, I guess.
See ya!
Wow, I made it to Richmond. Now I have to figure out what to do here.